2020 has been a difficult year for everyone. And at times, even the best of us have become run down by bad news and a future that doesn't always feel certain, which is exactly why we are so excited to be hosting Noreen Mosley, Jenny Boymal, and Victor Perton, who will be discussing the habits of optimism. So again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, I will hand it on over to you.
Thank you so much, Kate. Yeah, it's great to be here today. I'm Noreen Mosley. I'm part of Project Optimism. I also run Educate Elevate with Jenny Boymal, and I have another business called Race Party, which is an entertainment business. So I wear many, many hats, but today I'm here in the capacity of Project Optimism with Victor and Jenny. So I'm going to introduce Victor Perton, who is the head and the visionary of the Centre for Optimism. He's been running his work there, doing research on all kinds of incredible think tank activities for the last number of years. And I always say he's the trailblazer because he was talking about optimism long before we so desperately needed it now. So really, this is all really your culmination, Victor. So thank you for that. He also, in his spare time, chairs the Australian Leadership Project. And of course, he is just the heart and soul of what we're doing at Project Optimism. So welcome, Victor.
Thank you, Noreen. Wonderful to be here.
And Jenny Boymal, my partner in crime at Educate to Elevate, also heart and soul of Project Optimism, and also in her spare time is the CEO of Symphony 7. So she's a very, very busy woman too. But we're here today to talk about optimism as your superpower, because we believe it is. And if ever it was needed, it's needed now as a super duper power, right? So in our little circle of optimism, we always ask a question at the start of everything we do, and that is, what makes us optimistic? So I'm going to ask Jenny and Victor today, what makes you optimistic? First.
Oh, who's going first, Jenny or me?
You, if you like.
The computer's stopping you. I think she said me. So greetings, everyone, and it's wonderful to be here. So look, firstly, how do we define optimism? You know, it's not Pollyanna. It's not a belief that every dark cloud has a silver lining or that every bad event, you know, is an opportunity. Bad stuff happens. So our belief is that optimism is defined a bit like Harvard does it, the US military, Oxford University. Optimism is the belief that good things will happen and that things will work out in the end. And as my friend Noreen often says, if it's not the end, sorry, if it hasn't worked out, it's not the end. So what makes me optimistic is really asking that question every day of several people. What makes you optimistic? And being able to share that answer with people. And then part of it is, I think, genetic. You know, my family, 3 generations, you know, terrible things happen. You know, my grandfather tortured to death by the KGB, my grandmother sent to the Gulag, both my parents refugees. But, you know, they kept going, they persevered, and we ended up in Australia in this fantastic country. And anything that goes wrong in my life, I sort of compare it with what happened to them. And look, I think that really sums it up. And my mother was a role model. She died recently at the age of 92, and we were able to have a funeral that was full of joy and elevation. So for me, it's a mixture of practice, asking someone every day what makes you optimistic, genetics, background, and then choice. On to you, Jenny.
Love it. Wow. How can I follow that act exactly?
Very well. You've got the butterflies behind your head. That's enough.
My dragon flies with me. So for me, Victor, I'm very fortunate like you in that I'm a natural optimist. So, you know, I've always been, it doesn't mean that bad things don't happen and that I don't feel sorry for myself sometimes, but I have an innate belief that things will work out. And I know that if something doesn't quite go right, it doesn't matter. I really believe that everything we do and all the experiences we have are a learning and build on themselves and help us move us to the next place, which is, you know, ultimately part of the journey. So I love the journey of life. And I really like the destination as well. But for me, it's about the journey. So it's, you know, it comes with its ups and downs. Optimism has its positives and its negatives. You know, sometimes when you're very, very optimistic, you do sometimes have those rose-colored glasses on, assume the good in everything and everyone, and sometimes find yourself in a little bit of a ditch because of it. But that's okay. So I actually would rather be like that. And I like the way it makes me feel. I love excitement. Everyone knows that. I love that feeling of hope and what's the possibility and what could tomorrow look like and how can we make a difference and working with others to make things awesome. That's what I love. So I find that generally optimism serves me extremely, extremely well. So what makes me optimistic is working with amazing people, surrounding myself with really highly motivated doers, thinkers, and beers. I just love it. I love surrounding myself with others who genuinely are there for the right reasons and trying to really do good and lift others. I love seeing others succeed. I'm optimistic that there's so much opportunity out there. We just need to think a bit differently and maybe, you know, shake our brain a little bit and, you know, see things in different glasses to what we're used to seeing things. So yeah, for me, optimism all the way. I'm on team optimism, totally.
Oh, Jenny, you know that thing about rose-coloured glasses? My greatest shame is that my Maui Jim rose-coloured glasses disappeared and I haven't been able to replace them. So if anyone's watching and they've got wide Maui Jim rose-coloured glasses, let me know where you can buy them because otherwise I'm bereft without them. Now, Noreen, you asked us.
Okay.
We have to ask you and Kate, what makes the two of you optimistic?
Kate, do you want to go first? If Kate's still there. Yeah, Kate,
what
sorry.
makes me optimistic? Oh, goodness gracious. I think my friends and family, for the most part. Yeah, I think they keep my head above water and ensure that I'm always kind of seeing the sunny side. But I tend to be a pretty optimistic person myself, for the most part. But I think that's because I appreciate problem solving. So I don't mind tackling an issue too much. How about you? I'll pass over the baton.
Oh wow, okay. All very different sort of take. I think for me, I'm optimistic because I don't know, I guess I'm just very lucky to be surrounded by so many uplifting sort of people, and I think I'm choosing to be more optimistic now because it feels better. I'm going to quote the Dalai Lama on that. It just does feel better. Now, in case anyone hadn't noticed, Victor and Jenny, and probably you too, Kate, are absolute natural optimists and through, right? I'm an optimist in progress. I'm a working optimist. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I love doing this, because I'm becoming so much more optimistic myself, because naturally, I'm not that optimistic for me. I'm optimistic for everyone else, but not so much for me. So it's really a journey that I'm on as well. But it feels better. It feels better. So that's why I'm optimistic. So now, can I ask another question? Okay, Jenny and Victor, why do you think optimism therefore is a superpower?
Victor, do you want to go first in this?
Well, I've got a 15-minute speech on this, so look, I'll go quickly. I'll go first. So number one, in terms of your life and your health, the science is in. So last year, a huge study by Boston University, Harvard University, and the American military said that the most significant factor in healthy longevity, that is living beyond the age of 85 with mental and physical health, is optimism. And it confounded them. They expected it to be geography, genetics, wealth, but in fact it was optimism. It was verified a few months later by the Mount Sinai Medical System and by the American College of Cardiology. Optimism is the most predictive trait against having heart disease and the greatest predictor of recovery from heart disease. And people have done work in the same in HIV, in cancer, in dementia. Optimism is either a predictive factor in not getting the disease or slowing down its progress. And the Vienna Medical School, which is a very distinguished and old medical school, published a study 6 weeks ago, which said that the optimist sleeps better. They have 1/7 the level of sleep disorder that others have. And also good sleep is predictive of being optimistic. And so, look, there's a whole range of health things. My favorite, if there's any singles on the line here, is the study from the University of Michigan, which says if you've got an optimistic spouse or partner, you get some of the same predictive effects. So if you're single, that first date, I don't know whether it's eHarmony or the like, should add it to their list of questions. What makes you optimistic? And of course, if you've got a slightly pessimistic partner, the habits of the optimist will help you get them there. And then work-wise, look, you know, it's Corn Ferry, it's McKinsey, Bob Iger of Disney, Jeremy Johnson, the head of the Chamber of Commerce. Contemporary leadership needs to be realistic and infectiously optimistic. Strategy. I mean, victory is all about good strategy and innovation. You can't be a good strategist unless you're optimistic, trying to build something better. And the last point I'll make before I throw to Jenny, who's much more of an expert in this space than me, is innovation, right? You can't be an innovator. Kate says she loves solving problems. Well, you can't solve problems unless you're ready to have a go, fail, have another go. And my favorite is Dyson, you know, the vacuum cleaner guy who was an instant success after 5,000 models of the vacuum cleaner. It took him years and years and years to be an instant success. So optimism in 2020 is the underpinning of good health, and it's the underpinning of being a successful businessman, businesswoman, or professional. And I throw to you, Jenny.
Wow. Well, thanks, Victor. Thanks for that. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think, you know, Victory Officers is ultimately an organization that supports businesses. And I think at the core, at the essence of running a business, you have to be optimistic, because nobody gets into business and thinks this is going to fail. Let's just come in and fail. Like, that's just not what happens. You know, you do your spreadsheets, you do your numbers, they look amazing. It's all about optimism. It's all about optimism. You know, let's look at the best case scenario. If I sell 27,000 models at $25,000 each, oh my gosh, the bank account's going to be overflowing. The impact I'm going to make, the things I'm going to do for my family and humanity, you know, all these things. So to be in business, you have to be optimistic. The two things go together. Like, you cannot be in business and not actually go. And sometimes you can have those optimistic pessimists that kind of are like in business and they're kind of constantly like, you know, all that negative stuff. Doesn't matter, because they're still optimists, because they wouldn't be doing it themselves if they didn't believe that things would be better. So to me, optimism is a huge superpower. Now, problem solving and innovation, I think two of my favorite topics. I think ultimately business is all about looking at how can I do it better? How can I do it differently? How can I be customer focused? How do I look at what people out there are needing and really kind of maneuver myself to be offering what it is that they're needing? That's optimism in its life form. It's optimism, you know, absolutely on a platter. So to me, it's at the center of everything. And I think if we can embrace it and, you know, really kind of see it as a skill that we can learn, number one, because, you know, there are so many habits of being optimistic. Not many of us actually naturally have all of them. So some of us have more than other people. Some of us have lots of them, but it's all about how do we think better? How do we adopt these habits to make life easier and to have a more fulfilling, more positive outcome and make a positive impact to everyone around you. I mean, like, just think of someone that you know who's really optimistic and how they make you feel. So, I mean, to me, that's a big part of it. I love that part of, you know, how optimists actually make others around them feel. So it's a superpower in many directions.
So I want to actually just segue out of that into the fact that some people, you know, it's a little bit of a myth, but some people think, oh my God, optimists are away in their own little cloudy thing. They just don't believe in reality. They just go around thinking everything's going to be okay, and they don't really deal with what's in front of them. And please blow that myth out of the water. Victor, you go first.
Well, we foster realistic and infectiously optimistic leadership, and Kylie Ann's made that comment there in the chat box. And my favourite quote from one of the early leaders I interviewed in this project was Mick Farrell from ResMed. Now, who in the chat knows what ResMed does? Anyone want to type in what ResMed does? Some of you might think it's a med tech company. Some of you will know it's the snoring machine company. I know it as the world's biggest marriage-saving company, as it stops men and women snoring and driving their partner to insanity. And what started out as a $1 million company in Melbourne, I think it's now worth about $25 billion and headquartered in San Diego. Anyway, Mick Farrell, who's the contemporary CEO, said to me, if you're in the medtech business, you have to be an optimist, but it's an optimism rooted in reality, good strategy, good business plan. And Kate, am I allowed to say an oh shit plan in a victory event? Oh, well, I'll get away with it.
We're all adults
here. You've got to be prepared for things to go wrong, but be prepared to deal with it. You know, COVID, whatever, you've got to be ready. So there is the Pollyanna, one of the most famous fashionistas of New York. I think it's Julie Chu. I'm just having a mental blank on her name. Jenny Chu said in the New York fashion show, she was interviewed about her optimism. And she said, I was always a Pollyanna. She said, I loved the book. I loved the film. I remain a Pollyanna. So there are people in the world who are Pollyannas and who succeed because of the happiness and the infectiousness that comes with it. But from our perspective, it's best, as Jenny said, to be rooted in reality. You know, that things go wrong. And, you know, one of the habits that we'll talk about later, Noreen, you know, is that change of greeting, where instead of saying, how are you, you say, what's the best thing happening? But if someone then says, bloody nothing, or the like, then you know you've got an empathetic question to ask about what's going wrong. So I think it's utterly right, Kylie Ann. You know, it's smiling, it's laughter, but it's being a realistic optimist.
I love that. Jenny, do you want to add to that?
I totally agree. I see optimism as a lens. So you wear this lens, and it doesn't mean you become stupid and don't think about what could go wrong, and you don't think and you don't do all of those things. That's completely, I think that there's kind of a movement that defines optimism that way. And I think, you know, Victor, I'm really happy you started out at the beginning with the definition of optimism, because I think that's the key. Like, the key here is, how do you define it? So for me, I think I really see it as a lens, and it's about that general belief that somehow things will work out really well. So for those things to work out really well, what do you have to do? You have to work bloody hard. You know, like as Victor said, you know, Dyson were an overnight success, just 5,000 failures. But people don't see that stuff. So you need to work really hard in the back end. You need to build really good strategy. You need to think. You need to problem solve. You need to do all of those things. But it's that lens that you bring, and that thinking that it can be done. So, you know, COVID's a really good example. You know, COVID hit, and there were businesses out there who just went, that's it, I can't do it. Like, I can't, that's it. My business is a face-to-face business. I can't function. See you, bye. And they just went, we're closing the door. That's it. Now, I'm not suggesting that that didn't exist. Like, there are some businesses that really could not function in any way, shape, or form. But if I take Noreen as a good example of an optimist, you know, she was running an entertainment venue, could not function. You cannot do slot car racing where you need to be 20 centimeters away from each other and climbing over each other almost. You cannot do that with social distancing, apart from the fact that it wasn't legal to be open. But she came up with ways to do online parties and online events, and really creative and thinking outside the square. And to me, that's the lens. You know, when shit things happen, it's about how do you turn it around and actually come up with options that are really going to work. So I think this Pollyanna stuff's just not real.
Yeah.
Bad things happen in life. Things happen.
Jenny, sorry, just to that very point, I've got to say, you know, like, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. Like, I was really sad for all of my customers. I was sad for all of my staff. I was sad that we just didn't have a choice in it, you know, and that's real. That's real. But I just thought, you have to be strong and you have to keep going, and you've got to also think of your community. And, you know, I think by putting on the online parties in our case, and we did a lot of free stuff, and just to have people in, and we did racing online, that kind of stuff. It was just, it felt good just to do something, control what you could control, and we could control our online experience and experience it with each other. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't great, but I think you've got to keep going forward and keep going somehow, you know, and that's how I kind of saw it. So yeah, thanks for referencing that. But yeah, so my next question was, okay, so, you know, anyone who's just joining us, you know, is talking about optimism for the first time, or really thinking about it for the first time with a different set of eyes, is now thinking, great, so okay, I want to be more optimistic. I'm sold, it's good, it's going to lift me. How do I become more optimistic if I'm not a natural optimist? What do I do? Victor.
Go first, Jenny.
Sure. Well, you know, I think it's really quite exciting that optimism can be learned. So it's not you just are or you're not. You can actually choose that you want to be optimistic, and it doesn't come naturally, and it takes practice. And it's all about that horrible word, which I hate that word, is habits, because, you know, it's hard. Habits are hard, but you can do it, and it's a choice. So we all choose every day. We have so many habits that we have, some good, some bad, some very ugly, but it's a choice. So some are hard to break and some are hard to make. But these habits to do with optimism are all ones that we know make you feel great and really make you have that very, very positive lens. And that's what's really, really exciting. You know, there are lots of thoughts and discussions and practices about how do you form habits and how many days does it take to form habits. We know it takes quite a few days. Some people say 21, some say 72. There's lots of theories. But the reality is, I think it's somewhat different for different people. But the reality is you can do it, but it takes practice. So you have to, number one, as Noreen said before, make that choice that, yeah, you want to do it. So that's number one. And Victor, I might hand over to you from there to talk about, you know, what are some of these habits that the optimists have that help them be optimistic?
So look, I actually won't go in our normal order. Today, number one, I'm going to say is surround yourself with optimists. You know, to join in this sort of event, and Kate, we need to do this regularly, just bring together your most optimistic clients and friends and the like to surround themselves with stories of hope and optimism. You know, Disney, Coca-Cola, some really big corporations in the world have spent a lot of money in this space in recent years. Nike has just launched a new campaign. They've all worked out that people are sick of the news, right? They're sick of this pessimistic lens for the world, and they want stories of hope and optimism. Now, number two, so I just wonder if we can be a bit naughty, and can we bring all the attendees in yet? Is that time, Noreen?
Sure. I'd love to.
Can we elevate the attendees to participants?
We can.
Victor has a plan.
I'm nervous to do so because it hasn't been something that people have agreed to.
Well, if they don't want to, they don't have to. So
they
if you
can turn the video off. So what
then
I'll
they
do,
drop back, but I want to see their faces if they're happy.
Okay.
If they've done their hair like me, you can see how well my hair's done.
Yeah, fabulous.
They're wearing clothes, it's fine. If they're not wearing clothes,
this is your opportunity to put pants on, everybody.
Exactly.
All right. Well,
so
I will
lift them up because this is a group activity.
I tell you what, I've seen Victor do this before, and it's just kind of fun. But everyone go at their own pace.
Exactly. So Eileen, can we have some video? And Cynthia, can we have some video? And Kylie Ann, can we have some video? And Wendy?
Amazingly brave.
There we go. Everyone's coming on. Richard, you're a good-looking bloke. Come on, a bit of video. Dia, some video. Jessica?
Who's Cynthia?
Here's Sam. Sam, you're a good-looking person too. Come on, video. Jennifer? Jost and Co looks good, but your face looks better. So, the number one habit of the optimist is to smile. Okay, check in. Are the lips up or the lips even? Whenever you are on a video conference, check in. Am I dressed for the conference? It's a smile. The science says it's extraordinarily uplifting. And smiling at strangers. I had this lovely chairman of the company the other day on one of our events, and he realized he hadn't smiled at his kids for months. And by the end of breakfast, his kids said, "Okay, Dad, enough of that optimism guru. Stop smiling at us." But it made a huge change. And the other day we did an event with a guy called George Hall, who's got the art gallery under the Coca-Cola sign at King's Cross. And George used to be a hopeless drug addict. He'd down and out, near death and all that stuff. He's now an incredibly successful artist. He's just sold big installations in Seattle and Phoenix. He was walking down the street in King's Cross and people were smiling at him. And he couldn't work it out. Did he have his fly undone? Was there something embarrassing? But no, he worked out that his well-being was such that he was smiling at them. So number one habit to check into is that habit of smiling. And particularly when you're on a video, really check in to make sure that the lips are up rather than the lips are down. The second one is laugh like an optimist, right? And these days it's harder to tell jokes. Richard, you look my age than the rest of them. When I was telling jokes as a young man, it was all sexist, ethnic, as we know, the Jews tell the best jokes about Jewish people, the Irish tell the best jokes, but you say those jokes in front of a 17 or 18-year-old now, they think you're some sort of neo-colonial, neoliberal misanthrope. So I'm not going to try and tell a joke. I'm just going to get you to laugh with me. We're going to do laughter yoga together. So everyone unmute and laugh. Kate, you lead.
Ho, ho, ho.
Oh, God.
Come on, Dina, a bit louder. Come on, off the mute. Laugh, whether it's watching, hard quiz on a Wednesday night or whatever comedy, make sure you bring some in, if not every day, as often as you can. I've got 2 teenage kids and modern humour can be quite difficult. So I've now just taken, I'm not going to get offended, I'm just going to laugh. So, of course, they get offended now if they've insulted me and I laugh. The third one is a really interesting one that I think you'll enjoy. And we've done this one in prison. And it was so successful in prison that we got asked to come in and do a half-day session for the managers of prisons. So what we got the prisoners to do was, instead of swearing at the warder or just using the phrase, actually, I'll ask all of you. In Australia, if you ask someone, "How are you?" what answer do you get? What's the typical Aussie answer?
Not bad.
Not bad, that's it. And what's the worst one?
Good.
Not too bad.
Not too
Not
bad.
too
60%, 65% of the time. Try it at the supermarket, anywhere you go, you get this not bad or not too bad. So it's a wasted question and a wasted answer. So what I got the prisoners to do was to bias the conversation from the beginning. So you say, g'day or hello, what's the best thing happening for you? Or what's been the best thing in your day? Or what's been the best thing in your week, depending on when you meet them. And you will bias the conversation to the positive from the beginning. Just try it for a couple of days. You get a refund on my speech. Kate will give them a refund on my speech if it doesn't work. But give it a go. And I did an interview on New Zealand radio 4 weeks ago, and the guy who interviewed me was the business coach of a number of the All Blacks. And he said in his intro to me, I've been plagiarizing this man for the last year, ladies and gentlemen. And what was he plagiarizing me in? Every one of his customers knows when he walks in the room, he wants a story of positivity. What's the best thing happening in your business? Not what's going wrong. We'll get to that. What's the best thing happening? And they love it. His business has grown as a result. Now, what's the reverse side of that? If you're an Aussie and someone says, how are you? And you say, oh, absolutely fantastic, terrific, life is wonderful. People think you're a kook or a fake. And so again, try this one after you've tried the first one. G'day, how are you? Wendy, you pause. And you say, thanks for asking. Oh, look, my daughter made me breakfast in bed today. Or, oh, look, the team brought a cake in. Or, God, we just had a business success. Nothing long, because what you're after is them asking the next question. It's like a little fishing hook. But those are 4 of the habits that I really love. And I can go on at great length, Noreen, so I won't. But just the other one I'd like to give you is a variation on what people get. You go to self-help groups these days, you get this notion of filling out the gratitude journal. Now, the gratitude journal is a really good idea. In a country like Australia, where 25% of the population is now on anti-anxiety drugs or anti-depression drugs, and they don't work. I mean, the problem is if you've got low to moderate depression, the tablets don't make a difference at all in 90% of cases. So Seligman and others have come up with the gratitude journal. So Richard, as a bloke, you'd probably have a leather-bound book by your bed. You know, the ladies are more likely to have, you know, a beautiful book. Oh, it could be leather-bound as well. And at the end of the day, it's the 3 best things in your day. And they can be quite trivial. You know, it could be, as I said, you know, a cup of tea made by your daughter, you know, a really nice morning tea, or it could be a really great business success. But writing it down is not the end of it. The other thing you've got to do is reduce your exposure to the news. So there's lots of Aussies and other people who wake up in the morning to the radio. And particularly if it's on the hour, you get the news. And what is the news full of? Misery. So the trick with the gratitude journal is it's your first exposure to anything in the morning. Whether you're sitting on the toilet or having a cup of tea or a coffee, you take your journal with you, you sit on the loo and you read back those 3 best things from yesterday. And it is reinforcing. It's really powerful. And the scientific studies say that for most people, it's better for medication in the event of anxiety or depression. Now, the other thing though, which I think it's an empty thing if you're only writing your gratitude in your journal. If someone's really made you happy and done a good turn yesterday, I reckon you slip into your schedule today, a quick phone call and just say, God, that was nice. Thank you for doing it. And I got a scientific study from Berkeley today that said, look, while it's nice to do it by way of SMS or messaging app, it's the sound of the human voice that makes the difference. Women are generally better at this than men anyway, but it's that sound of the human voice. Now, I've got carried away with my habits, but what Noreen and Jenny are doing with the habits of the optimism so inspire me. But those are some of the little hints that we give, Jenny and Noreen.
There are a couple of people on here, actually, sorry to single you guys out, I think you know who I might be talking about, who are particularly good on this saying thank you business. Dia, yes, I'm looking at you. Do you want to jump on quickly and talk about what you do?
Sure. I was just reclining
I was going to pick on you
outside.
Well, the poster behind you is
Yeah,
beautiful.
no. Thank you. That's my it's what we try and do through relationship marketing. And we just try and send out a greeting card with someone that you appreciate, and send out the kindness, and the ripple effect's phenomenal because you get joy from creating it, because it does put a little, you think, oh, they're going to have fun, when they get the card. And then when they get the card, they text you to say, oh, I got your card. You made my day. You wouldn't believe the sort of day I'm having. There's so many, I've been doing it for 11 years. So I've got thousands of stories. And then they text you back. So you ping back going, oh, they loved it. I knew they would. And that whole thing, the ripple is just fantastic. So yes, Jenny, I love.
I know.
I'm not a bit of an optimism. I seem to live with a frown, but I do believe things will be okay. I've got to try and get the smile.
That's it. Like there are so many.
Jenny's smiley face just lights the room. I walk in and people go, "What's wrong?" And I go, "What do you mean?"
I know you're smiling on the inside.
But also, to add to that,
yes, that's right.
I think for a lot of people, hope is optimism. As I said, I'm not a natural optimist myself, but I believe in hope. I still think that qualifies as an optimist.
That's my great debate with the Pope.
Yes.
So hope is good. Hope is going forward with belief of some sort, and I think that's enough sometimes, So I think you probably are an optimist for sure. I think, Dia.
Now, there are three people with red lipstick. The other thing I'd like to leave you with, other than the question, what makes you optimistic, is one of our slogans. We hate, one of our mentors says that an inactive optimist is no better than a pessimist, right? If you actually don't take action and get going, there's no difference. So we often tell people to say that the leader looks like the person in my mirror. And at work, to graffiti the mirrors with red lipstick, to say the leader looks like the person in my mirror. So everyone who walks to that mirror is lifted and understanding that they are a person of action, they are a person of power. I had a 12-year-old girl send me an email from St. Michael's the other day. We'd done a great event called the Nelson Mandela Youth Leadership Summit. And she wrote me back this long email, and she said, I feel disempowered. And I was thinking to myself, how terrible that we've got an education system that leaves a 12-year-old thinking she's disempowered. So we are all about empowering people. And I think Dee and Kate and Richard, I'm sure you've got some red lipstick that a friend owns or the like on the mirror. The leader looks like the person in my mirror. In fact, we sometimes shout it out. We at big conferences, I get Americans to shout it out, but not so easy on Zoom.
So the other person here who I know loves to practice exactly what you were talking about before, Victor, of that saying thank you. And I know, Victor, Noreen, you and I have discussed this quite a bit, the meaning of just going out there and saying thank you to someone and how much that actually makes a difference to them. Is Kylie Ann. Do you want to jump on, Kylie Ann? I think the people here who know her know this about her. I know you really like to recognize and say thank you. How do you go about that?
Look, I'm in support of Dia's send out cards, of course. That's more of a commercial line for me with my business and my clients. But I like to take note of people's behaviours and if they've changed. And more importantly is actually recognising that to make them feel good is to be in contact with them and to say, hi, how are you? Can I help you? Is there anything? Or just a hello. But more importantly is if they've done something amazing and it does touch you and you go, oh, wow, and it triggers off some sort of action or activity, as what Victor said. If it's creating an action, then I think it's just really nice and to say thank you. And I would love to challenge anyone that could tell me that they don't appreciate hearing those words. So I find they're one of the most powerful words. And Yeah, so I like to say it as often as I can.
I actually recently went to an event which was all about gratitude and thank you. And they had a really interesting tip, which I really thought about afterwards. And they said, saying thank you was amazing. And, a lot of people don't do it. So I think it makes a difference and it really stands out. But what they were saying is that what is even more effective is when you actually give detail of what you're saying thank you for, and really kind of give the person a really good understanding of what you most appreciate about what they've done. I thought that was really interesting, because you kind of sometimes think, you just don't think about it. You go about life doing your thing. And I just thought that was a kind of an interesting push of, people do sometimes say thank you, but they don't then go into that deeper, I'm really grateful that you did blah, 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 whatever it is that you did. I think, really, really interesting. So I love that one, Victor, that whole, taking that gratitude and that thank you and really kind of making a system for yourself. And we said it's all about habits. So if you do it for a day, it's not going to do anything. It will make you feel good for a very short time. And the person who you said thank you to will feel good too. But when it becomes a habit that you do day in, day out, it's just really quite transformational.
I think the critical thing with the gratitude journal is a lot of people miss that second bit.
Thank you.
They'll do the gratitude journal at night, and then in the morning, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, what comes on but the news? Telling you, that 22 people died in Azerbaijan, and, a Russian rocket, hit an aeroplane over Ukraine or whatever. And you don't even want to get out of bed. It's miserable. Whereas if you start the day with what you were grateful for yesterday, it's extremely fun. And then you listen to the news later. All of us are, in business and the like, you've got to stay informed. But for most of us, you actually don't need to listen to it until you're on the way to work.
That's an interesting one there also about the news intake, which is also one of our habits of an optimist. Really limiting and choosing your news intake.
Don't limit your good news intake, though. The more good news. Now, Noreen, you've been asking so many brilliant questions. What's the next one?
What's the next one? Well, I was actually going to ask you or Jenny to perhaps introduce our first free course on optimism, on learning optimism from Project Optimism.
I think Jenny has to do that. She's the winner.
Some of these habits have already been covered by Victor, but we've identified 14 of them, and we're communicating them in a fun, animation, idea-driven kind of way to put some thoughts and ideas into people's mind about how they can just change some of their habits and bring it into their daily life and become a little bit more lighter and brighter. That's our hope. So Jenny, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, it's all about, we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes it's the simple things that actually can make the difference and the impact. And it's, I think, often in life, we've all got responsibilities. There aren't many adults that don't have responsibilities, whether it's, work or kids or whatever it is that you need to do, the shopping, the cleaning, the cooking, the whatever it is. And often, I don't think many of us grew up in a life where putting yourself first or even anywhere in the pecking order was really something that we were taught to do. I don't know if you all agree with me, but I was never taught that I need to look after myself and my own mental health. And I think this is really something for you. This is really something, it's a light, really kind of micro learning way for you to get snippets of information that actually are really practical and things that you can take and start thinking, what can I do for myself? Who do I want to be? I know, we were recently involved in this amazing Vitality conference. And at the Vitality conference, Tanya Levy, who runs it, she was she does this amazing presentation that she was talking about, which is all about every day she wakes up and she talks about what does she want to be. She chooses, what state do I want to be in today? And I think this is what this is all about. It's about that choice that we've spoken about so many times. So Noreen's giving us a little preview here. This is Project Optimism. And we're very excited to be launching it to the universe very shortly.
First course.
It's the first course on a platform where there will be lots of courses to do with optimism. So different things to do with gratitude, to do with business strategy, to do with career, to do with environment, to do with food. How does food make you more optimistic? To do with health. There are so many different aspects, but everything looking at things through an optimistic lens. Some of it's simple, just asking, what questions to ask yourself about innovation and leadership and all sorts of areas.
So this is the first course about learning, just learning to be optimistic. So this is like our Gideon's Bible. Everyone gets to have access to this. It's just free. You can jump in, jump out of it. You can look at habit 2, which is laugh like an optimist. Habit 1, smile. Habit 4, which is think like an optimist. Habit 5, ask others what makes you optimistic. And it goes on and on. Daydream like an optimist. Different things that you can just jump in and jump out of and take in, take out. Some habits will actually, I suppose, resonate with people, some people more than others and so on, but it doesn't matter. Just if you have even 4 or 5 of them that you bring into your daily sort of living, you just lift yourself and just everything becomes a little bit lighter and brighter as you just navigate your life. So
the brilliance of this, Noreen and Jenny, how many of you have started a Coursera course or the like, and after 14 hours of tedious speeches by an American lecturer, you've given up? I think Coursera's got about a 10% completion rate or even less. This can be done in 45 minutes, right? It's not, you don't have to basically mortgage the kids and the like. This is 45 minutes to start to pick up those little habits that we shared a little bit earlier, and we all lifted our lips up. Kate, make sure the smile's on.
Victor, speaking of smile, let's have a quick look at your habit. So as you probably may have gathered from this, sorry, I need to put this down. You may have actually realized that we have different narrators for every habit. And Victor, actually, I haven't even logged in yet. There you go. I haven't even logged in. So I'm going to log in, sorry.
I'm going to learn your password.
Yes, I've got quite a few of them on the go at the moment. As we all do, I think. Oh, incorrect password. Hang on. Sorry, my one again. I'm the wrong one here now. Hang on. Let me just refresh that. Sorry, I thought I was already logged in actually, but I'm not. Hang on. Remember me. Oh, incorrect. Well, maybe I won't do that actually. Hang on a second. Go out here again. Sorry, I've been fiddling around with this all day. Here we go. Dun, dun, dun. This is just our little test site. Right here. Sign in. Hang on.
Maybe go unshare for a moment while you log in, Noreen. We'll see if anyone's got any questions.
Sure. Yeah.
The last thing we want is those Russian hackers into the site.
So ultimately, the course is freely available to everyone. So at the moment, we're looking for some wonderful people who are interested in testing, doing a bit of testing for us, going through the program. I know a couple of you have already.
Kylie Ann's already put her hand up. She's in.
Kylie Ann jumped in today already, so thank you, Kylie Ann. And Cynthia actually has been through it already too. So we would love some testers. We not that we're trying to break it, but before we release it to the obviously, we want to make sure, Dia, we'd love you to try it. Wendy, it's coming your way. So we'll send you guys the link. Whoever wants to try it, please just send us a message on LinkedIn and we will make sure Noreen hasn't broken. She definitely hasn't. It's much more robust than that. And ultimately, it's freely available. So please don't share the demo that you're about to look at. But we'll let you know once it's live, which is very shortly. And then we'd love you to share it with the world. It's our gift to the world, and we can't wait to share it with everyone. We do have a little option that's going to be available for companies because as you go through the course, you get an opportunity to actually say what makes you optimistic, and companies can create a little wall with all of their employees sharing what makes them optimistic. So there's some cool little functionalities and fun things to keep everyone going. Over to you, Noreen.
Well, okay, so this is Victor talking about smiling. Any prizes for guessing that's Victor? So we just made animations of everyone because it was during COVID and it was easy just to kind of do this, you know, so, and it was fun actually. So this is Victor talking about smiling, which is the first habit. I'll just play a little bit of it. My internet isn't great, I don't think. But...
Smile. Smile at other people. Smile at yourself in the mirror. Is happiness the underpinning of optimism, or is optimism an underpinning of happiness? It doesn't matter. We know happier people tend to be more optimistic, and we know optimistic people tend to be happier. Never underestimate the power of a smile. We know that smiling stimulates brain patterns which reinforce feelings of happiness and optimism. Smiling does so in a way that even chocolate, a well-regarded pleasure in music, cannot match. In short, our brain feels good and tells us to smile. We then...
So anyway, so they're each about 2-minute videos, and it's just to kind of put some ideas into your head in kind of a fun way. And the laugh module is kind of, you know, very different again. We actually got a guy called Ahmad Iman, who's very big on LinkedIn. He used to be a bit of a rapper when he was a bit younger, and he actually put together a little bit of a laugh video with some points as well. And I'll just play a couple of seconds of that just to show you how different it is from the other videos.
Laughter is like medicine, you see. It has many positive effects. It brings out happiness, joy, it lifts your mood, inspires hope and connects. It keeps you focused, alert and grounded. It even keeps your mental health in check. And that's because laughter produces endorphins, the feel-good hormone that relieves stress. It also strengthens your immune system, so flu season you're not a mess. I mean, it'll actually help to keep you healthy physically and protects. Here's a fun fact, laughing burns calories and more than you would expect. You can either laugh for a minute or spend 10 minutes on a treadmill, you select. However,
So, and it goes on and on. But
I think everyone would like that last bit. You can either laugh for a minute or spend on the treadmill, you select. I'm in that one, I can tell you.
So after every video and every set of ideas are given in the modules, there's a little activity, a fun activity, which you can just do. Like for a laugh, we say, well, what people make you laugh? Tell us a short joke. And then you can just email it to yourself and then go on to the next module. Anyway, so every module is sort of done in the same sort of way. It's very quick and easy, and you can jump around. You can sort of do 3 of them, have a rest, do 3 more, come back, revise the first 3. Doesn't matter. Like it's your course, and you do it your way. Jenny mentioned about a wall of optimism that companies can do, but actually, all the individuals that come to the program can also create a photo and an image with their own optimistic quote as well. So that goes here under our Voices of Optimism. So if you come and do the course and you complete it, and one of the activities is to ask yourself what makes you optimistic, it goes up here. So,
Kylie Ann, you're in there.
Yeah, there you go. A few people already are there. So, and then, people just visiting the platform, if they go to this page, they just see all these optimistic statements, because no matter how we are and how we're feeling, if we're asked the question, what makes us optimistic, to go to that nice place. And it's very uplifting to see just nice, positive commentary. So that's what it's for. Yeah?
Should we finish off by asking all of these lovely guests?
I was going to say that would be a lovely finish, actually. So who hasn't, well, I suppose we've all spoken. So maybe we'll start with Cynthia. We haven't heard from Cynthia. So Cynthia, do you want to help us start finishing off by telling us what makes you optimistic?
Oh, laugh makes me optimistic. I have learned over doing your course, stay away from the negative, stay away from the negative people, and It will be good. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Miss Wendy Dawson.
I guess for me, I'm profoundly lazy. Like, doesn't it take a lot of energy to be negative? You know, to worry about stuff. Stop it, dear. Okay, maybe not for Greek people, but I just find it so draining and overwhelming to be like an Eeyore. When I just kind of go, there's a problem, well, you have to solve it. So I liked what Kate said before in terms of being energized a little bit by, there's a problem, you're going to work through it. It's that progress of getting through something. And I think about what Noreen said about hope. Well, hope just isn't blowing on a dandelion and watching the little seeds fly away. Hope's actually underpinned with some structure, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it somehow that you've got a roadmap to, you're here, you want to get there, and that's what hope is? Otherwise, it's a lotto ticket. I don't know. So I just kind of, I just sit here, and once again, it goes back to being lazy. I can't even come up with my own ideas. I'm stealing everybody else's. So anyway, that's enough from me.
There to share. Thanks. And Wendy, I find you so upbeat and so bright. Whenever I speak to you, I just kind of think, this energy is coming at me. So
thank you, and likewise. Thank you.
Carly Ann, do you want to jump in?
I think I wrote it down. It was with having communities, the community and your people around you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you heard me, but it's about having your community around. I grew up in a small country town, and it was really important to be close and connected to your people. They were the ones that looked out for you. And if you don't fit in that community and you aren't positive, you aren't creating solutions towards a better, a brighter, a bigger, and in this case, more fun, then you're on your own and you're not going to get a lot done. So I would say that community is definitely makes me optimistic with a little bit of sunshine, I think my comment was.
Love it, love it, love it. And Dia? I think you're on mute, are you?
Sorry, I'm just on an iPad and not in a normal office. I thought I was going to be behind a webinar, to be honest. So everything that everyone said, but I also think celebrating others really makes me smile. I love seeing and letting people know that they rocked something, or they congratulations something. I just love recognize them, because sometimes you can achieve something, and unless you blow your own horn when you're a solo business owner, no one else really does. So I think, if I see Carly Ann or Jenny or Noreen doing something, or Cynthia, I know, and Kate I know, and Wendy I know, I just go, well done, woohoo, because I think it just puts a little step in their step, a little air in their step. But community is really my big thing too, hanging out with my people, family especially as well.
Yeah,
really makes me I would love the silver lining in COVID was being able to hang out with my family for 7 months, which adult children, 26, what are they, 24, 26, 28, no, 22, 24, 26, you don't get that. So that's the upside.
That's a real I've heard that from a lot of people as well, like students overseas coming back and just basically hanging out with their parents, but like who would have thought, who would have thought. No, that's lovely. Now, Jessica and Sam, you're off video, but are you there? Do you want to tell us what makes you guys optimistic at all?
And then I'll just let you know, we'll probably have to leave it there because we've hit 6 p.m.
All right, I'm not sure if the guys are there.
Well, Kate, you've made us all very optimistic by having this.
As have you all. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And as always, I'll send through a follow-up email. I'll include the link to the site so everyone can, go through their modules and feel a little bit happier and shinier.
Thanks,
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.